All right. What a wonderful story. Isn't this a great story? Yes. No.
It's a big promise.
It's a big promise. What do we have contained in these few verses? What jumps off the page at you? God's covenant. With and the animals. Everything that has breath. God is bringing it all back. Truly, salvation was found in that ark. Those who came out had so much more than when they went in. All right, what else do we have here? Go ahead, Howard.
Coming from a background that did not believe in the eternal salvation we have, here is a beautiful picture of the eternal salvation that we have in Christ. Noah was in the ark, not hanging onto a nail on the outside. The storms came, he was still safe. He didn't even want to get out. The animals were still there. All that went in came out. All the animals that went in, all those animals came out. All the birds that went in, all the birds came out. And all the man went in, he came out. All the sin that went in, it came out. We didn't like that, but salvation. We still have that old sin nature within us that we can sin. And we do. We shouldn't make it a practice, but it happens.
What else? Carol.
If God loves us so much, why did he, I know he wanted to teach us a lesson. I know the things that we were doing at that time were immoral, full crap. But why would he go to such an extreme to take away what we have and then bring it back? Can you answer that?
Can I answer that? How about we throw it out to the general public first? Let's see what some other thoughts are, and then perhaps I can answer that. Or try to. Why would God destroy it all and start all over again? Okay, I have just moved in next door to you. And I am not a Christian. I am not a believer, but someone came by and left a Bible on my doorstep as a welcome gift. And I have read the first 9 chapters of Genesis. And you come over to welcome me to the neighborhood, and you do what every neighbor does to folks that move in. If there's anything I can help you with, if you have any questions, ask me. And I ask you, God destroyed the whole world with a flood. And then in chapter 9 of Genesis, he seems to be starting all over again. Why? There was a sin problem. How do you get rid of a sin problem? You kill it. I'm getting nervous about hanging out with the Joneses. Well, but in all honesty, what else do you have here in chapter 9 of Genesis? There's no Messiah. There's a sin problem. How do you deal with that sin problem?
Since you moved into that house next door, are you alone?
No, I have my beautiful wife and kids.
Have your wife? Okay.
We might be going somewhere else with the illustration that I intended to. Sin. Only one was righteous. Now I admit I'm starting to speak a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but it's a memory. My grandmother used to love to knit. And I can remember times where she was counting, and I was just a little kid. And I wasn't a troublemaker, I wasn't problematic, but there was something funny about this older woman. 2, 4, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, 36, 37. Graham, what you doing? Shh! What's wrong, Graham? Oh, Jay! Now I forgot where I was. And who knits? Anyone knitting here? What happens when you forget where you are?
Rip it out and do it again.
I never knew my grandmother was a budding theologian. You tear it all apart and you start over again. Why? I never noticed any real problem with it, but why would you do that? You need to count your stitches, and it might not look like a big deal right now, but 15 rows from now, oh my goodness, the problems. Has anyone ever had a bad habit? Of course not. See, Nancy's making me more and more nervous. She kills sin and she has no bad habits. I think I've said before, I bite my nails. I think it's a nervous habit. I don't know why I do, but I do. And it's very difficult for me to stop. There have been times in my life where I've stopped for months, but something always happens and I go back. It is really hard to stop a bad habit. Jason, my younger son, has never developed that bad habit. For him, it's nothing to not bite his fingernails. It is so much easier to start right than try to fix it as you go. I think perhaps God saw just how mankind was. Because from what we read, it was pretty bad. Now, I don't know about you. I think our world's pretty bad. I can only imagine what it must have been like that if God said, enough! In that big dad voice, where something's going to happen if it doesn't stop. And God chose to stop and hit the restart button. And we see this one family who, for whatever reason, I know you'll say Noah was righteous, that's fair enough, but it doesn't say anything about his 3 sons and their wives and his wife, gets this incredible opportunity to start again. I think God wanted it done right, and He was giving us human beings another chance. What else do we have going on here? God now gives us, I think, individual other chances. Yeah, it seems like we definitely have this overwhelming urge to complicate our lives with sin. What else do we see going on here? I'll throw out, I think it's really interesting so far. Well, that's not true. Verse 17. Each time God has spoken in chapter 9, did you notice it's to Noah and his sons? Until verse 17, and then it's God said to Noah. But God is establishing communication, not just with the man that He called righteous, but also the next generation. Perhaps God realized that man is easily distracted. Squirrel. Remember, he talked with Adam, and it wasn't a whole long time, and all that sin stuff started happening. And now God tells Noah and his 3 sons, my covenant shall be with all that breathes. I think another reason that God destroyed the whole world is I think here God started to remove the curse on the ground. Remember? He cursed it. It says that actually in Genesis 3. And God cursed the ground. And now thorns and thistles and weeds would come. Well, can you imagine? I think he kind of removed that and he restarted with the earth as well. Perhaps because, man, going to throw a bone to these humans. Because that's hard work. Anything else in these few verses? All right. Let's look at, well, I guess, let's go 18. Yeah, let's go the whole way through. 18 to 29. Do I have a volunteer? Going one. Thank you, Julia. 18 through the end of the chapter. Yes, ma'am.
The sons of Noah went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These 3 were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk, and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and pulled his 2 brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on their shoulders, and walked backward, and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
What jumps off the page to you in the second half, or the last third of Genesis chapter 9? Man, you're a quiet bunch tonight. Noah wasn't so perfect either. Noah wasn't so perfect either. What happened? He got too heavy on the wine. Has anyone ever noticed that when individuals become intoxicated, nothing any good ever happens? Or maybe I should back up. Has anyone ever heard the story? Man, I went out Friday night, I got drunk, and it helped my marriage. Has anyone ever heard that? No. How about, I went out Friday night, and I got drunk, and I sat down and done my taxes, and I'm getting a bunch of money back. My budget works so much better now. Is that? Never heard that. What do we tend to hear? You know, I really think the best possible outcome is just a severe headache. I mean, I've heard of wrecks, I've heard of jail, I've heard of fights, I have heard of just a whole lot of horrificness. You know, one would think that if we just read Genesis chapter 9, we'd know not to go so heavy on this stuff. In Noah's case, what happens? And everyone went quiet. He ends up naked, which, you know, is probably not something you're all excited to write home about or tell your friends. And what happens? But before he got covered up, one of his boys comes in, takes a look around, and, "You'll never guess what's happened to Dad!" Well, okay, that's, you know, I took some liberties there. It's probably not quite that way. But the youngest son comes in, and he sees this, and he goes and he tells his brothers. Fortunately, his brothers have enough sense to say, this is a shameful thing, this is a negative thing, let's take care of Dad. And they cover him, and they get him up, and they get him going, and Noah sleeps it off. And then what happens? I find it interesting that the first time that we hear Noah speak, the first time that it's recorded, and Noah said, he curses his youngest son. I don't know why, but I find that so fascinating. Here's a man who heard from God and built an ark. And he gathered up animals. And he survived a storm and a flood. And he is sacrificed to God after God brings him through it. And all the animals leave. And the first thing that Moses quotes him of saying is, "Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." Is that a good proclamation? Was it something that Noah needed to do? Because, I mean, you know, I realize, you know, cursing someone is never a positive thing, but
Sounds like he's taking it out on the youngest son because he got drunk.
well, I think perhaps because the youngest son
Saw him.
ran around and decided to tell everyone without helping. Maybe there's something in this about gossip. Think? Perhaps there's something in this about if you see someone in need of help, you should what? Help! Don't run away and talk about them. Help!
Not to tell your brother.
Yeah, don't tell your brothers. What's the opposite of a curse? A blessing. Awesome. And you know what? Noah then gives a blessing. Who's the blessing to? The Lord. Blessed be the God of this my faithful son. It's God that still gets blessed. Now, some time has obviously passed since they've come out of the ark, because one, it's enough time to to go, it's enough time to actually grow grapes. It's enough time that his youngest, Ham, has a son, Canaan. So some time has passed here. It's not immediate, but we still have that sin nature. It's so deeply embedded in us. And we almost start to see it all play out again. If we take a look at chapter 10, we notice it gives the lineage, and we notice that from Canaan comes a whole lot of problematic countries eventually for Israel. Almost like the whole Seth-Cain experience again. So, the $64,000 question is, what does Genesis 9 teach us or tell us about our lives? What is the point of Moses including this? I'm a firm believer that if we can't apply what we've learned or what we've read, we've wasted our time. So now you get the opportunity to show me that our time here wasn't wasted. What does Genesis 9 say for us today? God loves us. He gives us a second chance. If you find someone in need of help, by all means, help. Surely we can find a few other things in here. His promises, I think there's a song something like that. His promises endure forever. Something like that. All of our musicians aren't here. What else do we have? These are all really good answers, by the way. We have a covenant with him. It's also interesting, and I kind of just didn't mention it, but there are 3 signs to the covenant that God gives in Genesis, and this is the first one. The rainbow in the sky. A specific covenant that he will never destroy all life again. In case you are wondering, Genesis 17:11 provides another one, and that's circumcision. And there's Genesis chapter 31, verses 16 and 17, where God instills the Sabbath. And he says, this is a sign of my covenant. Isn't that beautiful? Here's a sign that I'm in relationship with you. Have a day of rest. Doesn't that sound great? I mean, just amazing. What else do we have here for us today? Nobody's perfect. So when I think I'm really awesome and great, perhaps I need to look again. Nobody's perfect. We have a covenant with him. He loves us. Second chances. Anything else?
Evil can be passed down. Seems like Ham kind of passes it down to Canaan, and it becomes greater and greater.
Perhaps we need to be extremely careful in what we teach, because it seems like when we go sometimes when we go astray, it goes astray. I'm ready. It doesn't say that, but I would be willing to go out on a limb and say one of those brothers told him. Why? Because I have 2 sons. And I know if there's a chance of one of them getting in trouble, the other one is most happy to tell me what they did or what they didn't do. It's amazing, you know. Dad, brother didn't put his dishes up. Yeah, well, he didn't cut the grass. You know, it's just amazing. It's amazing. Anything else? Going once? It is 7:28. I will give you 2 minutes tonight. Aren't I gracious? 2 whole minutes. Carol's question. Why did he destroy it all just to start again? Does anyone know the comedian Dennis Swanberg? Oh man. So the illustration's going to go God desired a peoples, a legitimate, strong peoples to worship him where the other nations in the world would see their testimony. And I think God said, I must start again. Because just one guy versus tens of thousands, they'll just call him loony.
Love was an important thing. I mean, love your children. You see them doing wrong. You try to correct it. I just think there's love there.
And you try to correct them, and you try to correct them, and you try to correct them, and you try, and they don't listen, and then all of a sudden you see the one that's trying, and you say, I can work with that. You know, it's not all that different in a church, is it? If we're trying and we're trying, God can work with that. And he wraps us up and he puts us in this great little thing called salvation, and then he opens it up and he sets you loose. Now there's a big old world out there. Go get it. But it requires us to try some. It requires us to care. Billy. And I think sometimes we do not do society a justice when we fail to teach them about God's wrath. Now, I don't think we need to go out and say, God's going to strike you down because you looked at me funny. You know, it's not that kind of thing. But God still has wrath. God demands holiness. And He will give us a chance and a chance and a chance. And He wants us to come back. But there comes a day when those chances are up. There is a day where you inhale for the last time. And then you stand before God one-on-one. And in that moment, there are one of two responses He can give us. The one I pray eagerly and intently for everyone is that He will say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Come into your reward. But there's also that, away from me, I never knew you. And that might not sound wrathful. But the consequences aren't sweet and simple. I have now kept you. Not only do you not receive 2 minutes, I have taken 2 minutes from you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I do have something else that I need to remind you. Next week is Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And all of our activities are canceled. So there is not supper, there is not Bible study, there is not kids club, there is not youth. It is a night for you to enjoy with your family. Be it spouse, be it children, be it grandkids, be it whoever. Do take advantage of it. Celebrate well. And next week's off. Hope to see you all Sunday. Have a great evening.